Cormorants are an issue for all fish keepers with outdoor ponds, and particularly when we're trying to harvest carp and grow carp from spawn outdoors. It's a real challenge to get them past cormorant proof size without getting them under nets. Now in the summer you rarely see a cormorant. I haven't seen a cormorant for about 8 months on any of the ponds around here, and I've not even seen them pass over. You go to the water park where they're roosting, you see them all year round. However, I was aware that we're coming to that time of year in the winter where they start to move and look for more places to feed. And I came back from a holiday just a couple of weeks ago. You can imagine how I felt when I came down here and saw 4 on this pond. And this is the pond where I've selected the brood fish to produce fish for the next production cycles to come through my ponds here on the farm. So I really rely on these first year carp. So that's the job we've got. So as soon as I saw them cormorants, we got the tape out, which I've gone from post to post across the pond, and that's pretty good. You can make that pretty tight, and because it's that quite thick tape, it flickers in the wind, so you won't be able to make it out there, but when it's windy it really does make quite a dazzling flicker across the pond, and I think that just helps to keep those cormorants moving on. It's very unsightly, so I don't have it out all year round. And the other thing we did was to put more mannequins out just to help keep them moving, and we changed the costumes of the mannequins. For any cormorants that have perhaps got used to them not being human, we've changed their costumes and we put them back out again. And since then I've not seen a cormorant, and that's 2 weeks ago now. So I've managed to bide my time until now. We're getting to the middle of October, and now I've just got to rescue those fish. So here's the plan. We've got to net this pond tomorrow to get those first year carp out of this pond and into this pond. This pond's got a lovely cormorant proof net across it, stops them from landing, and it's a bit of a ball ache to set up these predator nets on every pond. I'd love to have them on all the ponds so the cormorants can't get to any of my fish, but they are a real bugger to set up, and you're always taking birds out of them that have tried to land on the net, and they're never too pleased to see you when you've got to try and get them out. So it is a bit of a bugger, and it's a shame that we have to do that. And cormorants are such an issue that you do need them now to rear carp from first year to second year, and even in the second year they're not always safe if you can't get them to 2 or 3 pounds. So that's the challenge we've got. Now I can't just willy-nilly put all those first year carp that we catch tomorrow into here, because there could potentially be 400, 500, 600, there could be as many as 1,000 first year carp that I want to protect for the winter that I'll have to put in here. So I can't just chuck them in. You can imagine the amount of oxygen load that's going to put on the pond. So I'm going to need to make some space before we do that. So the first job will be to net this pond and take 100 or 200 pound out of this pond to give a bit of space to put the next batch in for the winter. I reckon I'm just about ready to go tomorrow. I've got the tank half full, so we half filled the tank. Obviously when you put fish in, the water level comes up. Half filled the tank, checked and played with the oxygen diffuser, that's working fine. All the pipes are fine. I've got spares and repairs in the mill ready to go if we need them tomorrow. I've got my net holding bins, so we'll grade fish in these holding bins. The net's an 80 metre, 3 metre deep fine mesh net. And I've got the holding pens on the top, 2 holding pens in case we need to separate some fish within the pond. Check them for holes, obviously, preventing as many disasters as we can. Got the waders, dip net. I've got the tank behind me set up with water in it in case we need it. I've got the air diffuser set up, and I've played with the pump to make sure that's working fine. Everything's working fine. I've got spares and repairs ready if we need them. I think we're ready to go. Now the reason we have to be so prepared at this time of year is because it's so warm. Water temperatures are still around 15 degrees at the minute, so the fish are going to be very active. They're going to be very aware of what's going on. When water temperatures get below 10 degrees, they become a lot more numb to their surroundings and a lot more robust. So that's why we harvest fish in the winter. and why I'm not harvesting fish or selling any fish at this moment while I've got the opportunity. Obviously I'm netting a pond tomorrow, I could sell some, but the reason is all to do with temperature. So they'll move a lot easier when it's a lot colder, so I'm going to wait until that happens. Obviously I'm only moving fish from one pond to another tomorrow, so it's much less stressful. They're only going to be in the tank for literally 10 minutes at most. So I'm just being extra prepared, making sure the oxygen's working, the air diffusers are working, and I've got tanks set up ready if I need them. So that's all to do with temperature. If it was in the winter, I could hold fish in the transport tank for a lot longer if water temperatures were below 10 degrees, and I wouldn't have to be quite so organised. But it's always good to have a bit of a practice run. So that's what I'm treating tomorrow as. We're pretty much set to go. This is a batch of second summer fish which were stocked at £1 to £2 last winter, which are now at the end of their third summer and should now average £5 per fish. So to give you an idea of my stocking densities, this pond is half an acre. I stocked 200 C2 carp, which were an average of £1.50, therefore starting the growing season with a biomass of £300 in this pond, and it's half an acre. At the end of their third growing summer, this batch of 200 fish should now average £5 in weight. Therefore, I should average a yield of £1,000 from this pond this winter. To put that in terms of a per acre stocking density for you, that's a spring biomass of £600 per acre to achieve a yield of £2,000 per acre at harvest. But it's important to bear in mind that these fish are not yet sexually mature, so they're not going to throw any offspring until next summer when they're C4. So when stocking ponds with sexually mature fish, some consideration should be given to the natural fry recruitment, particularly if the environment is suitable for the succession of juvenile fish, like we will see in the broodfish pond in just a moment. We removed 40 fish to create space in preparation for rescuing up to £200 of first year carp. And then it was time to net the broodfish pond to catch those first year carp. First, it was a case of removing the parent fish as quickly as possible. As you can see, they're incredibly lively in these warmer water temperatures. They become far more settled when water temperatures dive below 10 degrees, so we'll take a better look at these in the winter. It was just a case of getting them out of the way so that they stop smashing their babies to bits in the net. There were a couple that I recognised from last winter though, and they look as though they've had a great year. Really clean, big and in great condition. Then finally, we were left with a net full of carp that were from this year's spawning. Although realising how many we had, it wouldn't be wise to put them all under the predator net, with the water temperatures still very warm. Oxygen issues in the autumn can catch people out when it stays this warm, so I chose to grade through these fish to prioritise saving the best grade. But don't panic, that doesn't mean the rest will be lost. It just means that I can sleep easier at night knowing that I've definitely got 1,000 good first year carp secured. We made a rough count into the transport tank and moved them under the net where they're safe until we start harvest and restock the ponds with these later. I estimated over 1,000 awesome first year carp that we preserved from a net of potentially 5,000. All of these perfect little seeds, each one a potential monster of the future, all reared on our plant-based diets. No hatchery, no Artemia hatching, just left naturally to spawn outdoors and fed on our plant-based diets right from the start. Do you now see why I don't care what anybody says? My God, does this work. Well, that was very successful. We successfully rescued 1,000 first year carp, and as you could see, they've done very well considering that those eggs were fertilised on the 1st of June. That's actually a very late spawning considering the summer that we had. It was really warm, and every day I'd come down thinking it'd got to be spawning this morning, and that went on for months and months, and it wasn't until the 1st of June that they actually went for it. So well, that was a late spawning, but still they managed to reach 4 to 6 inches. We've got 1,000 under the net behind me now, so that's 1,000 secured to grow on to C2s for next year, which will be spread out in the spring once the cormorants start to disperse and be less frequent in passing over here. Once we sorted these fish out and got them safe from the cormorant, I was very kindly invited along to Wingham Fisheries as a guest to fish for the evening, but as well to join them in their introduction of their stock fish. So when we got there, when we woke up in the morning, Matt was already in his waders in the pond with his dip net, netting out the fish from the drained stock pond. So I was there with my camera to film it all, and here is what they've got going on at Wingham to secure the future of those massive carp across those syndicates there. Matt had organised a work party to get some help from his members in getting the fish from the stock ponds and up into the IBCs before deciding which fish to put into where. With the stock fish all removed from the stock ponds, we set off to the lakes to weigh, picture and release the chosen fish. What I really like about the stocking plan at Wingham is that because Matt is so protective of their stock, which have come so close to the British record weights, understandably, Matt doesn't want to risk introducing fish from external sources. Instead, fry are harvested from the main lakes once they spawn, before releasing them into the stock ponds to grow onto 3 or 4 summer fish, at which point they're then graded for stocking into the main lakes. There's 2 reasons why I think this is such a good idea. The first being that Wingham is renowned for its enormous, very old carp stock. By keeping the fish rearing in-house, they've created their own strain, completely undiluted by externally farmed stock. If Wingham were to stock from an external supplier, their unique origins would be diluted, and they would just be offering what every other fishery is offering in its population of fish from commercially available fish farms. That's no disrespect to any fish farmer, but Wingham have a great USP at the moment, with their fish that have a story of belonging to the estate, which I think adds a unique element in the angling experience and the value of each capture. Having the members get involved with the stocking also helps make them feel part of the future. All of this adds to value to the membership. Aside from all of that, there's the biosecurity element too. I know this gives Matt a peace of mind knowing that he's minimised the risks associated with the introduction of new fish. What's incredibly exciting about this is not knowing when you're next going to see these new fish and how big they'll be when you do see them. A recent capture of a stockfish from last year had gained over 14 pounds in just 12 months. That growth is just mind-blowing. The angling at Wingham is beyond tricky. Some anglers don't get their first bite until their third or fourth season, and some of the fish go missing for 4 or 5 years without capture. So hopefully, we'll be digging through this footage in years to come when these fish have become as large as their parents. I learnt a lot from speaking to Matt during my stay. I've worked with hundreds of fisheries in my time and there's very few like Wingham. I think with these syndicates that have a premium price point, a membership that's famously difficult to obtain, there's a sense of respect when you're on the inside of that membership. Compare that to fisheries which are open access, accessible to anyone. The angling becomes much more disposable and there's always issues of anglers feeling entitled to get what they're paying for, and that's what sets these syndicates apart. As a member, there's a sense of privilege, opportunity and achievement felt when a membership is offered to you, so that you're invited to become part of something like Wingham. It was clear from my short stay that Matt is an out-and-out grafter. Despite not being an angler himself and holding a PB of only £3, he described his job as the best in the world. A big thank you to Matt for inviting me along and allowing me to share a glimpse inside the fishery. I hope this video has provoked as much thought as always for you like-minded fishery management enthusiasts, and if it has, all I ask for you is to support the channel by clicking that subscribe button if you haven't already. Thank you so much.